Australians are the biggest gamblers in the world, beating out Singapore and the US, which is a shame because I had 20 bucks riding on New Zealand for third. Aussies lose about $18.4 billion a year. That's roughly $800 for every man, woman and child.
Hello. I'd like to tell you about Bet365.com, the world's biggest online sports betting company. And guess what? Bet365.com is now based in Australia.
I was brought up, family from racing from the very start. So from day dot, I can remember going on the track when I was like 3-year-old. But first bet I ever had, couldn't tell you. I would have been probably 5, 6, I'd reckon. Grandfather was right into horse racing. He was a SP bookie, so from the very young age, we used to do a lot with the grandfather. And basically, yeah, go to the horse racing track and cruise down to Dudley with him after. He was like a social drinker, social smoker and that. He'd cruise down there, have his punts. I'd be tagging along, so since from a young age, it's just been, brought up that sort of way around horses. In particular horses, that's probably where most of my gambling's at, the horses. But yeah, that's sort of where it originated. When I used to go with my pop, you used to have to do it all through a ticket. You could have one bet and one game, that was it. But now you can punt on just about anything. Whereas back in the early sort of 90s, late 90s, where you didn't have your mobile phones, none of this sort of touchscreen technology as such, and these digital screens where you had the analog stuff, there was no way for the betting company to advertise their shit without getting you into a betting agency as such, like your TABs or your Paddy Powers overseas. Now, you literally got one in your pocket. You got a betting agency sitting in your pocket, but you got a bank sitting in your pocket. You got absolutely everything sitting in your pocket. So. These days, you got thousands of corporate bookmakers. You don't just have the totalisator. They don't have outlets. They don't have a place where you have to go to deposit money. You can just simply download the app, register in 5 minutes, link your bank account, and you're in. There's still no limit to how much you can transfer it sort of once. When I was a younger fella, I had a horse called Wallamai, and he won me quite a bit of money. And I'd say I bought him for $2,000. I think he earned maybe about 80,000, and I'd reckon I punted probably 20,000 of that. And that's probably my biggest regret there. I could have probably bought a few more horses, which I did with the other money. The way I sort of structure my shit is I can't get carried away with it. You can't get yourself into situations where you got to rely on other people. You can't do that. It won't work. I've been there a couple of times and gone home, got absolutely no cash. Payday that day. Fucked for the whole week, sort of thing. It's happened a couple of times, but some people chase money for whatever reason, and if you're no good in your head, you can get out of control really quickly. So say done $1,000, they might go chasing that 1,000. All of a sudden they're 5,000 down out of their missus' credit card. Oh, it won't happen again. Then it happens a couple of times. They get carried away. Your rent, your car payments, all that sort of shit that everybody's got to get by with. Power bills, all that sort of stuff. If you're putting your punting and everything over that, you've got a big problem. You've got a problem. When it comes down to it, it's all about people making money. They just want to make money. The Australian government wants to make money off us losing money, and that's basically what's happening. The government's, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry for the government. These corporations bring in billions and billions of dollars. It's what's the saying? Rich get richer, poorer get poorer. I've been around for 30 years, and that's exactly how it goes. That's exactly how, everywhere it is. That's exactly how it goes. It is just it's a hobby as such. It's more a hobby to me than anything else. Some people might like to spend all their money building cars, all their paychecks on spare cars, shitbox cars, doing up for absolutely no reason. Like, you know what I mean? It's a passion to them. It's a hobby to them. Gambling's the same thing to me. You can maybe talk to your problem mates, but I've been there and talked to these people, and you can say all you want. You can literally say all you want. They might feel bad for that minute, but when it comes to the next week, or when it comes to whatever they're doing, they're going to do it again to chase their ultimate goal. You can speak to them as much as you want, offer as much as support as you want, but as I said, it's ultimately, I think, up to the individual and their will. But if to limit the problem, I think it needs to be governed quite a bit more, and to govern it more, I can't see it happening, because the corporate bodies make too much money, and the Australian government itself makes way too much money off gambling. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. You have to want it. You can't rely on someone else to get you out of it. It's like a drug addiction. It's like any addiction. It doesn't matter what form of addiction it is. I can lock you up. I can lock anybody up in this house for as long as I want, but that's making them a prisoner. As soon as you let that person out, if they haven't got that will to fight whatever they're fighting, kiss it goodbye.
Tools have improved, and you've never seen anything like it. With wagering's most advanced mobile app, CrownBet gives you better odds and a superior betting experience. With CrownBet, the game just changed.
It's all over, mate. Can't lose from here.
There it is! The curse! Come on, cash out!
Hold the phone. That is not Aussie Road.
What are you waiting for?
Oh, that is a sickening sight. Oh, this is ridiculous. That couldn't catch a cold.
Cash out with Sportsbet and get out of your bet early.
I guess I'm concerned to show my face on camera. I'm not overly concerned, but it's more of a cautious approach, because if somehow somebody from my workplace did find out about this video, maybe it would be deemed as passing on information that may not be, seen in the best light. It might be negative towards my company. I had no intentions of going into this industry and doing the role that I'm doing. I finished uni and I was looking on a website for jobs, and I saw the job come up and go, oh, I didn't even realise that was a job. Then I read the description, like, that's mad. That'd be a sick job. I can't believe that exists. I mean, I didn't even know the job existed, and I was in the gambling industry. Like, I didn't even think of it. I don't know if there's anything that I have seen that is completely like, oh my God, like, I can't believe they're doing this. And I think most people, well, not most people, but a lot of people are aware of what they're doing. It's just that the general public isn't. So the perception is a little bit skewed to what most people believe. But if you do enough digging, you'll find out. And they're not doing anything specifically illegal. At work, not one of my colleagues doesn't gamble, I don't believe. It's definitely beneficial to have somebody that at your work that is passionate and knowledgeable about what they're doing, because it's going to equate to a better worker. The companies are moving here clearly because there is a demand. So wherever there's demand, you've got yourself a marketplace which is favourable. You're going to make money. And there is a demand in Australia, and I guess that is due to our culture. we drink, we punt. Simple as that. So to have a couple of drinks and let loose and throw a few dollars on for a bit of risk, that's in our nature, that's what we do. You can't sit down and watch a game of football without being told the prices. Everybody from a 6-year-old that wants to watch their Brisbane Broncos play on a Friday night, thrown at them throughout the game, before it, at halftime, afterwards, everything is just the odds of the game. So what do you think they grow up like thinking about? And that's a good way to judge who's going to win, what are the chances are. So it's pretty easy to pick that up, and then before you know it, you have an opinion and you start betting on it. I don't agree totally with their marketing, how it's so, just occurs so often. It's so frequent that you'll see it on TV and in football games and stuff, and I think that's a little bit too far. I think that the government eventually will, or should, impose certain restrictions on when you can advertise and where you can advertise. I don't think it's great, don't get me wrong, but I have the sort of the obvious idea that if I wasn't doing it, well, somebody else would. Am I any worse than a bartender that sells beers to an alcoholic? Am I any worse than a person that works behind the counter at Macca's that is selling shit food to obese people? Or somebody that's selling smokes on the corner store? Like, where do you draw the line? They're being reactive, not proactive, but they're not doing it just because they're silly. They're doing it for a reason. It's making them a lot of money. Personally, I like to gamble. Number one, well, I tell myself anyway, is to win money. And number two is I do enjoy it, and it's my hobby, because that's what I do at work and that's what I'm good at. My gambling habits have changed a little bit recently because it's a bit harder to place bets online because more and more bookmakers have cut me. So what I've ended up doing is I just wait till there's something that I want to place a bet on, and I'll go to a tab terminal at a TAB or pub and place the cash on, because they can't stop you from betting there because they don't know who it is. I've been cut, which means I can't bet there, or I can only get on to profit a certain amount. And that happens when you're seen as a client that will beat them in the long run, that they will not get money off, so then they make it impossible for you to gamble there, or limit you to a certain amount of winnings, basically, because you're no good to them. And if you're winning money over an amount of time, you will be cut. It doesn't matter who you are. Except journalists. Journalists get a longer run because it's no good them bad mouthing your company. I really do think it's unfair. I understand limiting somebody to a certain amount, but to completely cut is completely unfair and wrong. Younger people are going to be more susceptible, particularly men, to gambling, because that's their domain. That's like, guys like sport, they play sport, they watch sport, they support a team, and that then equates to knowing, or having an intimate knowledge of something. And when you have an intimate knowledge of something, you think you know more than somebody else, which means, then equates to, then you draw the conclusion to gambling. The boys are having a bet on this, or you might all back the same thing and cheer it on together, sort of give you a sense of camaraderie, or it's just, it's just a fun thing to do, I suppose, that is more attractive to blokes than females. Men are known to be bigger risk takers than females, so that's got to play its part. Oh, well, mobile sports betting is just so accessible and so easy, and I guess smartphones have changed everything. There's not many people that would just go somewhere to gamble by themselves. It was more done in a social setting. Whereas now, if you can just access it all the time on your phone, what's to stop you at any point in the day, at any time, placing a bet? It also is, with gambling, I believe when you punt enough online, you lose your value for money. It's like monopoly money. It doesn't matter to you as much. You don't get to see the benefits of winning or the negatives of losing as much. Whereas if you would gamble in person, you're handing over the cash, and you're receiving the cash when you win, or you're not receiving it. I guess because it's not a product, it's a service. You don't get anything tangible from what you do when you place a bet. So I guess that's why it's seen differently in some ways, because not when you're buying alcohol, you got a physical thing of beer or whatever, or even if you get a pack of smokes or drugs or whatever, It's a tangible thing, whereas gambling is not tangible, it's just numbers on a screen. So I think that's what makes it different.
Welcome to Ladbroke. This is Brittany. Am I speaking with Henry?
Yes, that's correct.
How can I help there, Henry?
Hi there, can I just put $10 on San Francisco, please?
To win in the baseball?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, price is subject to change. So I've got them at $2 for San Francisco. Just want 10 for the win?
Yeah, that'd be good. Cheers.
Yeah, $10 for San Francisco Giants to win at $2 against Milwaukee Brewers. This is processing, won't be long.
Okay,
Shouldn't be too much longer.
no worries.
Okay, that bet's on for you. Was there anything else?
No, that's fine, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Have a good one. Cheers.
You too, bye.
I see all these things and yeah, okay, you might be selling something that's not ideal, but there's temptations every day of your life, and it's in so many facets that I believe it's up to the individual to not get drawn in and addicted and have that as a problem. And it's just another form. What's one extra form of temptation when there's so many out there? It's just up to the individual.
There it is.
Yeah, so I still go out a bit, which is quite different to what I was like when I was probably 18 to 25, when I would go out and it would normally consist of sitting on the pokies and, you know, punting all the time. I like that I can still do that now in my life, where I can go out and have a good time, enjoy myself, but be more of in a social environment and, you know, have fun rather than spend all my week's earnings through the pokies and stuff. So I would mainly play the pokies. So most of the time when I was gambling, like, I had a machine. So it was either Where's the Gold or this thing called the Roadstar. So that was my go-to. But then I'd also try and back myself on the horses, but for some reason it just didn't give me the thrill that pokies could. Like, I felt like I had more control on the pokies. What happened was, when we all turned 18, it was a norm for all of us to do. So at the time, probably the first 3 months, we would all go to the same pub, sit in the tab room, have a few bets, and then go play the pokies. And then you could see gradually over time, people would slip away from it to the point where you had, you know, probably 2 or 3 of us who were going a lot harder than everyone else. I won just over 10 grand on the pokies and they gave it to me in cash. So I remember I was 19 at the time. And yeah, we just got laid off work that day. So we went to the Gladdy in Orange, and $200 ended up being just over 10,000 in cash, which went on for another 2 days. Yeah, so I just remember the boys coming back and I just had wads of cash everywhere. And to the point where I got home the day after and it was in my socks, it was in my undies. Like, it was just an awesome feeling to be able to, you know, give so much to your mates and yourself for 3 days with absolutely no barriers of drink that, do that. Yeah, so I think that was always kind of in the back of my head when I was doing these things. I was like, more playing the pokies to send the message to my mates and be like, hey, I just won 5K. I think what happened was, after I won that $10,000, that really changed my mindset about what I could win on the pokies. So I remember there was probably 6 months there where if I played, it was either $0 or $1,000. Like I wouldn't take anything besides that. So if I was to put in 200, we would play it down at 0 or 1,000, which then I'd probably put on a dog anyway. So it was a lose-lose situation. But I got to that point where, like, even if I put in $10 as I was walking out of the pub and got up to $900, that wouldn't satisfy me. Like, I knew that I would have to play to 1,000 and, like, probably up my bets. But then, 9 times out of 10, that goes down to 0. So it was a bit of I wasn't in control of the norm of that. It was either, 1,000 or nothing. Doesn't matter how much I put in. I would go sometimes in my lunch break. I still remember one time one of my best mates went to the Gladdy on his lunch break to have beers, and then he's walked past the room and seen me in there, and I'm just playing there by myself, and he's like, oh my God. And like, we laughed about it, but deep down I kind of thought, that's pretty messed up that I'm here in my lunch break. I would go lose $500 and then have to go back to work, and it was just the shittest mindset. Like, everyone knew about it, but then I don't think everyone knew how much I was losing because they would see the wins. Like, everyone who knew me knew that I went hard on the pokies, and I'm very like that in any aspect of my life. I'm just super, what's the word I'm looking for? Addictive. Like, in anything, it's either 100% or nothing. So yeah, everyone knew about it. My parents didn't know about it. I think they caught wind that time I came home with 10K, but I lied to them and was like, I didn't spend as much as I have or all that kind of stuff. But I feel like now people can conceal it way more, and that's what's scary about it, is, we could be sitting here and you could be putting bets on and no one knows. And once I started getting into credit card debt and stuff, and just kind of reflecting on how long it had been, like when I stopped gambling just before I was 25. I was like, shit, this is 7 years. I've probably spent 150K through the pokies. It just kind of dug in, and I was always going to say, like, I'm going to stop gambling on my 25th birthday. And I know how much that doesn't work with me, but it was a good, kind of excuse not to. So that was the 4th of May was the last time I played the pokies. So about a year and a bit. Because I knew that's all I was getting known for after a while. Once sport kind of finished and all this kind of stuff, which I was known for when I was younger, it's like, now, a shit kicker. And that's kind of the self-reflection I had of myself when I was pretty deep into it. I remember, like, my little brother pulled me up one time and he was like, dude, what is going on? And to see my little brother, like someone who I meant to be a leader for, schooling me, being like, what the hell is going on in your life? Like, having asked my parents for money for rent one time and stuff. It's like, these guys work their ass off and I'm hitting them up for $200 for rent because I just put $200 to the pokies. I wasn't going anywhere in my career or anything as well. And on that date as well, I decided that I wanted to, get a lot of business mentorship, and I actually put $20,000 down on getting a mentor who's now my boss. So yeah, I think my part of the void was if I put down way more money than I've ever put down for something and know that there's no return, only that you have to work to make that back, that's kind of what I did, and it's, it's worked so far, which is cool. Yeah, I don't know. I was looking at everyone around me. I was like, hey, I'm not going to go traveling. I'm not going to do anything if I keep this up. And, smashing out credit card debt and getting myself deeper and deeper into that. It was like, when the fuck are you going to start growing up? I think it was that kind of, like, it got past. It was on a massive decline of it's not cool anymore. As bad as it was cool when I was losing that much because it was like, oh, did you see James put $500 on that horse or something like that? And I was like, is that really what I want to be known for? Like, is that cool? It's like, I either need to get new friends or like change who I am, because the only, like, that little gratification of that was loose in turn makes me have canned tuna for the rest of the week. So it was more just thinking about, you know, what am I proud of? And I remember I had another mentor at the time who, he asked me this question. He's like, what's the thing you're most proud of in your life? I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I don't actually have anything. Like, I've done some pretty crazy and amazing things, but I'm like, I wish it could be to say that I'll stop gambling. He's like, we'll do it. I was like, yeah, probably should. Yeah, I feel like it's something that plays a big part in a lot of people. And a lot of people, yeah, like I think there would be a massive amount of people between like 18 and 20, 25-ish who struggle with it. And it's like, it's a sad addiction to have. Like, it's lonely. Yeah, there's a lot of hidden stuff with it. People probably don't like to, like the status quo of it is pretty fucked up. Like putting it out there that you've got it. When you go through those kind of things, you go through massive reflection of what have I done, like what have I missed out on, but you're kind of gonna go, okay, cool, it's done. Like I'm only 26, like I'm glad I got it out of my system then, rather than being like 30 and, you know, I would just say own it. Like I remember I put up a post, I think it was 6 months since I've stopped gambling. I put something on Facebook, and then I had like 4 or 5 people reach out to me like, oh man, like I need this. Yeah, cool, like what are you gonna do about it? Like are you gonna take action? Like do you want me to like be accountable or something? But I think you need to take some kind of action against it rather than just, you know, dwelling, because it is a lot better on the other side. But yeah, it's still weird, man, because I still have dreams about pokies. Like, it's funny to see how like embedded it is in me. Like I'll wake up sometimes and be like, did that happen? But I would dream about them as soon as I got home from the pub. Like, you know when you go to sleep and you see things, I would see the pokies because I would hit them that hard for a while. It's pretty fucked up.